Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. Closer. Planned Parenthood benefits substantially from Medicaid. Despite providing only a limited selection of medical services, it annually receives over $500 billion taxpayer dollars. Over the last decade, Planned Parenthood's own annual reports indicate it has almost doubled its tax revenues, and it has reported $765 million in what it calls excess revenue, $127 million of that last year alone. During the same time period, Planned Parenthood has reduced its cancer screenings by half and increased the number of abortions it performs, even as the national abortion rate has declined, giving it a 40% market share, as Planned Parenthood Senior Medical Director Deborah Nucatola bragged in the first CMP video. Planned Parenthood receives taxpayer dollars in many ways, but principally from Medicaid. Yet Planned Parenthood is unlike many other providers, not only because of its profits, but also because it has also been able to resist much of the corrective action that other Medicaid providers with its track record would expect. And unlike other Medicaid providers, Planned Parenthood has spent millions of dollars in recent elections supporting its preferred candidates. Planned Parenthood has a long history of actions that would have jeopardized its state Medicaid contracts were it any other provider. The states regulate medicine, and the states supply their own tax dollars to Medicaid. Thus, Congress did not create one Medicaid program, it created 50. States are free to craft their own programs to best serve their own citizens' needs, choosing which providers they will entrust with taxpayer dollars. The Medicaid Act itself and its legislative history affirm that states have broader authority than even the federal government to exclude providers from their Medicaid programs, and the courts have agreed. Thus, over the last 2 decades, over 9,000 of the now 554,000 Medicaid providers in this country have been disqualified from state Medicaid programs. Those decisions are usually uncontroversial. But recent actions by the federal government to protect Planned Parenthood have undermined that federal-state balance. When states choose not to contract with abortionists in their Medicaid programs, reasonably concerned that taxpayer dollars would subsidize those abortions, the administration issued a new interpretation of the Medicaid statute that purports to deny them the right to administer their state Medicaid program. Recently, after several states terminated contracts with Planned Parenthood specifically, the administration expanded that interpretation, claiming that those states lacked the right to exclude individual providers suspected of violating the law, at least where Planned Parenthood is concerned. This despite the fact that each state has hundreds of other low-cost health care options for the few Planned Parenthood clinics' limited services. The administration's actions are robbing the states of control over their own state Medicaid programs to protect a politically powerful but ethically and legally challenged organization. Congress can restore the proper balance, allowing states to determine which providers they trust with taxpayer dollars. Any other Medicaid provider, subject to multiple whistleblower lawsuits by former employees alleging tens of millions of dollars in waste, abuse, and potential fraud, which paid $4.3 million after being accused of submitting false claims by the Obama administration Department of Justice, which has been specifically identified as the source of over $8 million in Medicaid overpayments by government audits, including submitting claims for abortion-related services. Any other provider like that would not be surprised to have its Medicaid billing privileges suspended or even terminated. Any other Medicaid provider caught having failed to report sexual abuse of minors at least a dozen times, including most recently, a 14-year-old girl in Mobile, Alabama, who was returned twice after 2 abortions in Mobile, returned twice to her abuser without reporting that information to authorities. Any other Medicaid provider in that position would be surprised to only have their Medicaid privileges terminated. Any other Medicaid provider that was paid by a for-profit company, Stem Express, for baby body parts, where that company has claimed in writing to provide financial profits, quote, and fiscal rewards to abortion clinics in marketing materials bearing the endorsement of that Medicaid provider, whose CEO acknowledged to Congress, we're not talking about the videos, acknowledged to Congress that it had received $60 per baby body part and could provide no evidence that actually connected those payments with any actual expenses that Planned Parenthood experienced, whose top-level management has been captured on hours of videos negotiating prices for those organs and the alteration of abortion methods against the mother's knowledge to obtain those organs for sale would rightfully expect that its Medicaid contract would be in jeopardy. But Planned Parenthood is not any other Medicaid provider. It is a politically powerful organization that spends substantial sums from its sizable excess revenues to maintain its funding and its political power. And Planned Parenthood is being protected by this administration. Congress can reaffirm that the states have the authority to govern their own state Medicaid programs and make decisions that are in the interest of their citizens, even where Planned Parenthood is concerned.
Chair, thanks.